Let us observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Our initiative to sustain road safety, messaging and law enforcement, 365 days, 24 hours and 7 days a week, must capture the imagination of the nation. It must equally serve as a central tenet of the social compact that must define the collaborative effort and role of every organ of civil society in the fight to arrest the scourge of fatalities on our roads. Each year, when we measure the ground we have covered and evaluate the gains we have made in making our roads safer, we must equally draw invaluable lessons from the encounters of our long and tortuous journey. It is only by internalizing these lessons will we be able to overcome challenges and make tangible strides towards the realization of our goal. Today we mark the midpoint of the festive season, which ends on 11th January 2022. Having to contend with the elements while enforcing the rules of the road has always been a daunting task. The heavy rain season is upon us, and our officers continue to put their best foot forward under trying circumstances. We have also begun to see increasing numbers of travelers on our roads. This also results in a high number of traffic violations, particularly those associated with drunken driving, speeding, as well as reckless and negligent driving. A total of 710,970 vehicles were stopped and checked during the first half of the festive season campaign, with the intention to remove unroadworthy vehicles from our roads. A total of 1,561 vehicles were discontinued, 1,820 impounded, 2,639 drivers were arrested for various offenses, ranging from drunken driving to excessive speeding and operating vehicles without a driving license. The West Speedstar was caught on the N1 Mokopane, where it clocked at 225 kilometers an hour in a 120 kilometer zone. The West drunk driver was caught on the N2 north at Venkelspruit in KwaZulu-Natal with a breath alcohol reading of 1.95 mg per 1,000 ml of breath. The legal breath alcohol limit is less than 0.24 mg in 1,000 ml of breath. I'm pleased to report that the man who was recorded driving a Range Rover recklessly and protruding from a driver's window has been identified by investigators from the Road Traffic Management Corporation. His arrest is imminent, and he will face full might of the law for his unacceptable behavior that places the lives of other road users in harm's way. Human factor still remains the main causal factor for most of the crashes during this period. Statistics reveal that people who died in our roads this year were passengers at 35%, followed by pedestrian at 34%, drivers at 26% and motorcyclists at 1%, and bicycle drivers at 1%. The vehicle types that had the most contribution to fatal crashes were minibuses, light delivery vehicles and trucks. Most fatal crashes happened during the early hours of the morning and early evening. Most crashes occur between Friday and Sunday. Year on year, the number of fatalities has marginally declined by 3.1% from 848 in 2020 to 822 this year. We are seriously concerned about the high number of major crashes where 5 or more people perish in a single incident. We have seen a 142% spike in crashes with multiple fatalities, resulting in 17 such crashes so far this year compared to 7 over the same period. The number of fatalities from major crashes also increased from 34 last year to 111 this year. Our statistics show that fatalities increased in 5 provinces, with exception of Free State, Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal and Limpopo. The Eastern Cape recorded the highest decline of 30.7% in fatalities, from 127 fatalities in 2021 to 88 so far this year. The other provinces recorded the following performance. Free State recorded an 8.3% decline in fatalities from 16 2020 to 55 over the same period. Limpopo recorded 16.8% decrease in fatalities from 107 in 2020 to 89 over the same period. KwaZulu-Natal recorded 24.3% decrease in fatalities from 173 in 2020 to 171 over the same period. The highest increases have been recorded in the following provinces. Northern Cape recorded an increase of 60.0% from 20 fatalities in 2020 to 32 over the same period. Western Cape recorded an increase of 49.3% from 71 fatalities in 2020 to 106 over the same period. Mpumalanga recorded an increase of 26.4% from 87 in 2020 to 110 over the same period. Northwest recorded an increase of 10.9% from 55 in 2020 to 61 over the same period. Gauteng recorded an increase of 1.4% from 148 in 2020 to 150 over the same period. Despite these grim statistics, it is important to note that thousands of road users continue to respect the law and obey the rules of the road. This is a responsibility we must all take seriously in order to make a difference and ensure that our roads are safe to travel on. Our traffic law enforcement officers continue to punch above their weight in their planning for a safer festive period. However, the responsibility for safety rests with all of us as road users. I therefore call on all citizens to exercise this responsibility to make South African roads safe. As the holiday season gets into full gear, we anticipate that a high number of vehicles will be crossing our land border posts in the coming few days, as our compatriots from the regions will also be making the journey home for Christmas. We will therefore strengthen our efforts by aiding immigration and cross-border officials in our operations to strengthen our campaign. Lastly, I would like to send well wishes to our law enforcement officers who will be working over the Christmas and New Year's Day. We are proud of your efforts and wish you all a Merry Christmas and a blessed New Year. I also urge all drivers and passengers to COVID-19 health protocols. All drivers must wear masks, especially those who are in charge of means of mass transport at all times, and ensure that passengers are sanitized before entering the vehicles and that everyone wears their mask. We equally have a responsibility to vaccinate and encourage others to do so as well. During these busy periods, millions of South Africans will be on our roads, traveling home to spend Christmas with loved ones, while others will be making their way to holiday destinations. I urge all motorists to behave responsibly on the road, look out for pedestrians, and exercise patience in heavy traffic. We owe it to posterity to ensure that those travel do so safely and arrive alive 24/7, wire. I wish to thank everybody, all our motorists who abide by the rules on our roads. I thank you, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. Colleagues, it's question time now. It's up to you. The Minister would direct any member of the public of a panel to answer certain questions, but let's proceed. Okay, Palama.
From EMC. Minister, you mentioned the issue of vaccination here. There have been concerns about calls to have vaccination sites on roadblocks. What is your take on that? Some people have said that will infringe on those who don't want to be vaccinated. There were those who were concerned that some people may be forced to vaccinate. And also, what I've observed here is that a number of drivers have expired licenses and driver's licenses. What would you attribute that to? Is it the backlog in terms of renewing these licenses and driver's licenses?
I will urge Makosini to start first. Note the question on the license discs. It is a huge matter which we have to respond to it. A lot of these cars we come across, which means they are unroadworthy. And then we will answer the vaccination.
Let's take one more question.
As well on roadblocks and so on.
Comprehensive response.
Minister from Minister Africa. Minister, with the statistics that you've just given us, I've just noted that you mentioned that about 5 provinces have seen increases, and when you compare that to the statistics that we saw last year, there was 6 provinces that showed a decrease. What is it that we're not doing right this year?
Oh.
Thank you, Minister, MEC, and the DG. The issue, we need to distinguish between the driver's licenses as well as the Ds. The padlock was with the driver's licenses, never was the padlock with the Ds, despite the fact that the Minister on 2 occasions had extended the issue of the Ds. And what is more pleasing is the fact that most of our DLTCs have gone on overdrive. They are now working overtime, even Saturdays and Sundays. You go to Temba DLTC, we open even on Saturday for you to renew the disc and to apply for the driver's license. What we cannot deny is an issue of the padlock in relation to the driver's licenses, which you are attending. But it is also important, since the public is not aware, the Minister as well as the MEC has extended the services for the driver's licenses. We have opened 2 new DLTCs, one in Centurion and one in Midrand. And they work from 7 in the morning as well as 9 to 9 at night, 7 days a week. And we emphasize 7 days a week. Gautrain has also joined us in rendering the services. So there could be no other reason why people are no longer renewing their driver's their discs. But we are quite aware, Minister, as well as MEC, that in the areas where we have now opened a case where we have lost the face value documents, where some of the people have become to sell the disc on the face value. You will recall that on the 4th of April, we lost a printer out in SAPO, South African Post Offices. Some other people are busy doing their own business in that area. Hence, you see the reluctance in relation to the matter of the people renewing their disc. What is it that you are not doing right this year? We have seen a new pattern this year, where most of the public transport have opted not to drive during the day. And we have massively invested and deployed our traffic officers during the day. We're going back to the drawing boards to change our deployment strategy, because most of those accidents happened after hours. But also the step that we have taken that yesterday, that we applaud the NDPP, it's after yesterday in Mpumalanga we agreed with them no longer to charge anybody who's going to cause an accident with reckless or negligent driving. The first case has been widely reported in Mpumalanga yesterday. You'll recall that there is an accident that happened in Mpumalanga where 8 people died. That driver has been arrested and we have charged him with culpable homicide. So that is beginning to send a message, particularly for those that are using the public transport, that we now mean business in dealing with these matters. Yes, last year we had 6. You will realize if you check in terms of the statistics, particularly Gauteng, it's 1.4. It's only one accident of a taxi that had made Gauteng to be at that particular level. In Mpumalanga, one of the issues that have contributed immensely is the closure of the N4 due to the construction. They are all using one road down at next to the area called the Delmasport. So that has also begun to ensure that we have more traffic. And the last one, Minister, on the issue of the disc, it's not only what you see on the road as light motor vehicles. We have done a study. We will soon be calling you when we pounce on the freight industry, who owns government millions of money in relation to these expired discs. Thank you.
Minister, on the vaccinations.
Yes, just to add, just a couple of minutes ago, somebody working at the hospital was asked why is he driving a car without a disc, and then she said no, it's because of COVID that the car disc is not renewed. You'll recall that during COVID we gave a grace period almost twice for cars disc renewal, and then we did explain to motorists that the only thing we are dealing with between now, that last year, and March next year, in terms of extension, is the driver's license backlog in the country, not the vehicles. And we have always urged people to go and renew their vehicle discs, and they are not doing that. From last night and even this morning, you still have got a lot of vehicles. You have seen the total number of vehicles impounded. There are many. And that mission is going to continue, because we urge all motorists to go and renew their discs, vehicle discs, and that is important for them to actually do that, or otherwise they are going to face the consequence. I mean, there was a lot of cars coming this way and that way without discs. and as you could have seen. With regard to vaccination, it is important for people to vaccinate because when you are vaccinated, it does not mean that you will not get COVID. But when you get it, the symptoms in terms of compared to when you are not vaccinated, they do not lead to fatalities, meaning to death, or to where you find yourself having to go to hospital and then subjected to oxygen and all of that with severe conditions and so on. So we have seen that. So vaccination does work. We do have people who have COVID who have vaccinated, but the possibilities of them dying at bigger numbers like it happened at the beginning, I think it is minimal. So we need to encourage our people to vaccinate and debunk the myth that vaccination doesn't help, and the myth that if you are vaccinated you've got other side effects that have not been discovered by scientists and doctors and all of that. So we need to vaccinate so that we get our freedom back. We don't want lockdown regulations that are going to have severe impact on the economic drive in our country, where we've got such numbers of people unemployed. So we need to encourage our people to vaccinate, and vaccination has got nothing to do with ideology, that people are on the profit drive and all of that. I think it is quite misleading. It is for free. We need to encourage our people to do so. We do have a lot of people we work with, staff members and so on, who get COVID, Omicron or whatever that it is, but they've come back and they are okay as we speak. And because most of them have actually vaccinated. The president of this country tested positive too, so he has come back to work. So we are encouraging people to do that. Even myself speaking here today, I'm fully vaccinated. So I'm waiting for the boost. I hear that the boost is coming. So I'll be the first on the queue to get the boost and so on. Because that is the way of life now. If we are to win against this COVID. There are things that tend to confuse from time to time, but we give ourselves space to allow those with knowledge to give us education, and then we understand what turns we've got to take. Remember, these are uncharted waters. So we have never lived in an era of COVID. We only learn about it during the years of the Spanish flu. But it's only now that we are a generation that lived during the trying times of COVID-19. And it's a difficult thing if you deal with something that you don't know. You can't blame it on anybody, but you take precautions. So it's important that we must follow the vaccine, but also follow the protocols. And I think that is very important to do, something very important to do.
More questions?
Expressed concern about the high number of crashes this year compared to last year this time. Can this be attributed to speeding?
Commander from TNCA again, Minister. I just want to get a sense here, pardon my ignorance, but what have you observed in terms of drivers driving during the curfew time? I know many people have forgotten that we still have curfew in South Africa. Are people being fined for driving during curfew times for no reason? What is the trend that you have observed during this festive season?
Like the CEO of RTMC, Makosini, have said, what we have observed is that most of the accidents and crashes and fatalities have happened in the wee hours of the morning. Take for instance Free State, where we had two minibus taxis that collided with each other. 13 people perished in that particular accident. It happened early hours of the morning. We have encouraged people to travel during the day. The reason people are traveling during the night is because they know that their vehicles are unroadworthy, and then they are committing a murder by traveling at night to avoid traffic officials on the road and law enforcement. That's why they are running away from that. And others do all these sorts of things, but they lead to this. Last night, we impounded the vehicle on the N1 next to Carousel on its way to Bochum in Limpopo from Alexander. That vehicle had an expired driver's license and it was impounded by law enforcement. That tells you a story. That person was traveling at night. And then he was murmuring the driver saying, "How did it happen? I didn't know that this road is blocked." So it means there is a connection of how they do these things. And we still say to them that we will win the war against the scourge of fatalities on our roads and crashes, in particular crashes, not fatalities, because crash lead to fatalities, is by working with people who understand that to abide by the rules and drive a roadworthy vehicle, you are not doing a favor for the state law enforcement, it's for yourself. So that when you encounter an emergency, whatever emergency you are encountering, you know that your vehicle can be your best defense. But if you are not doing that and you think you are making police and everybody, a favor, not yourself, you are making a mistake. So it is important that people must understand that. So all these crashes and fatalities, most of them happen during the wee hours of the morning. And that is why our campaign is 24/7 wire. Since from the time we launched during the festive season, you will meet traffic cops and police and roadblocks all the time, even, beyond the call of duty. And that is what we are doing in this campaign. So the curfew, people do observe the curfew, except a few. And they survive because they do also manner of things, paying bribes. And some of our cops let them off the hook when they are not supposed to, which is corruption. You are not supposed to drive after 12 o'clock because it is a COVID restriction and there is a curfew. You're not supposed to be opening a beer hall, whatever, after 12 o'clock. I've seen a new trend now, especially in Johannesburg, that areas of entertainment start their shows from 11 o'clock during this period, which is good. So that by 9 o'clock and all of that, you close down and release people. And I see that trend well embraced by social people who go to parties and all of that, because we can't close parties all together because people are also making a living out of that. But they've acclimatized from 11 during the day, 12 o'clock, around 7 o'clock, some of the parties are closing down, giving space for law enforcement to do its job. So in that context, it is good. But what is good about the curfew for us during this time is that you don't have people traveling at night, and then that leads to accident, and it's a rainy season. So it's better if you take off, you're going to Cape Town, you are driving with your family for holidays, you drive, you relax in Beaufort West, and then you take off again. The following day, then you arrive in Cape Town during the day. There's no problem. You will arrive alive, promise. But if you drive at night with the view of avoiding cops on the road, you're getting tired, you get drunk on the road, You will bump into pedestrians, you will do all sorts of things that undermine law enforcement. So we stick to our rules. Drive during the day, avoid driving at night, long journeys during this period. Take your time, enjoy the road trip, and that is what is important for us.
Minister Mbalula, can you just give the Gauteng perspective? You done, colleagues? I'm wrapping up. Just start this.
Linda Minister from Nation Africa again. The issue around minibus taxis coming up year out. And I wonder what you're doing about that, Minister. For example, in Gauteng, there was the Taxi Violence Commission, where that report found that taxi associations are a law unto themselves. And today in the television, that we're seeing a lot of accidents amongst minibus taxi